What's up, guys? It's Ezekiel Kennedy. Now today I'm going to be ranting the Goosebumps book series. You know, the old Goosebumps book. I'm going to be ranting the Goosebumps book because, you know, like I said in my previous video, I'm going to start ranting now. Now, before we begin, I just want to say that these are my opinions. So let's just begin. Now, starting out at number 10, we have My Best Friend is Invisible. Now, My Best Friend is Invisible is about Sammy Jacobs, who's into science fiction, and you know, he likes science fiction stuff and all that stuff, but his parents are into real science. But you know, Sammy has met someone who is totally unreal and crazy. He's hanging out in his room, he's eating all his cereal, like, Sammy's just gotta find a way to get rid of his new friend, but the only problem is Sammy's new friend is invisible. Yeah, basically throughout the book, the invisible boy, which is Brent Gray, he is like making Sammy lose his mind. He's making him go crazy. The teachers think he's going crazy, but it turns out during the end of the book, it's revealed that Brent Gray is turned invisible because he was trying to be protected. Because it turns out Sammy and his entire family and his friend Roxanne are actually aliens. And throughout the ending of the book, the family and the friend are like wondering what they should do with Brent. Like make him a pet or like send him to the zoo. It's a crazy ending. Now when I first saw the cover for the book, I see Sammy's cat who's like super scared or something, and Brent Gray's like holding a pizza, like drinking a soda or something. Like, you obviously know that Brent Gray is invisible. Like he's the main character antagonist. I don't know, but yeah, this book wasn't so bad. It just wasn't like there for me. You know, it hit a number 10 on my list because I just thought it would. Coming in at number 9, we have The Girl Who Cried Monster. Now, The Girl Who Cried Monster is just like The Boy Who Cried a werewolf. Now, basically, this book is about Lucy Dark, who tells stories to scare her little brother. But then one day, she signs up for this reading program, and it turns out the person who runs the program is actually a monster. Now, obviously, she tells like a lot of people, but obviously they don't believe her. And then the parents invite the dude for dinner. And it turns out during the end of the book, it's revealed that Lucy's parents are actually monsters, which actually makes her a monster. Now, when I first read the book, I was just shocked, and I was like, don't you hate what that happens with Goosebumps characters? Like, you think the characters are normal humans, like, you're flowing through these characters until the ending. It's revealed that they're that species, but it turns out they're that, that person at the end of the book. So yeah, Lucy's a monster, and, the parents basically eat the character that was basically traumatizing Lucy for the rest of the book. But yeah, it ranks at number 9 on my list because it wasn't that all there for me. I just wish they would have done a better job. Like, they kind of copied off, except it was with the girl, but they kind of copied off The Boy Who Cried Werewolf. But yeah, overall this book was alright, but wasn't the highest for me. Next up, coming in at number 8, we have Don't Go to Sleep. Now, Don't Go to Sleep I thought it was alright, The cover definitely freaked me out as a kid. That big monstrous hand reaching out for Matt when he's in the bed. Like, I just thought this kid was gonna die, but it turns out this dude is living realities, and, his realities over and over and over, Eventually, the main character learns his lesson. His name is Matt. He learns his lesson about living all these realities, and then these, like, reality cops or whatever, like, Men in Black are, like, all over him. And, yeah, basically. I did see the episode for this. I will be mentioning some of the Goosebumps series, like the episode series. Yeah, I saw the episode for this, and I thought it was so creative and good. It was just like the book, except they had a little differences, but it just doesn't, like, rank the highest for me because, it kind of did the Men in Black thing, kind of. But yeah, this book is okay. I just wish they could have done more with it. And yeah, that's basically it. Coming in at number 7, we have Night of the Living Dummy 2. Now, Night of the Living Dummy 2 is like one of the books that a lot of people like. It has a good cover. It kind of freaks people out, and Slappy is just iconic. It's so good that he'd have a sequel. It's not even it's actually predictable that he'd have a sequel, because he is just so popular in social media and fan is, you know, so a lot of stuff. And yeah, of course he'd hit a sequel. Now this book is about Amy. She's a ventriloquist and she has this dummy called Dentist, but you know, his head keeps falling off, and you know, her parents get her a new dummy, which is Slappy. Now at first he's not alive until, of course, new kids always find that little, you know, pocket word, Karu, Maru, something like that, da 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 da, and then he makes her life a torture. You know, he splats paint everywhere. Yeah, he ruins the friendship of her friend, and you know, he reveals some. Slappy finally reveals some stuff. He's like, "You're my slave," you know, blah 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 blah. But eventually, he gets defeated, and I haven't read this book in a long time. I'm sorry, guys. There's some endings that I will remember and don't remember. But I just thought this book was alright. It was okay. It wasn't like the best, but I thought it was alright. Yeah, it was okay. It was definitely better than part 3. And part 1 was okay, like following through the rest of the series, but part 2 is my favorite one in the series, and usually sequels aren't that good, but I just liked it. You know, it was pretty good. Now coming in at number 6, we have The Werewolf of Fever Swamp. The Werewolf of Fever Swamp is, you know, a classic take on werewolf stories. I am a big fan of werewolf stories, so it was good to see Goosebumps' big take on this classic story. Now, this story is about Grady Tucker, who moves to Florida with his sister and his parents, and eventually, Grady, the main character, his name is Grady, he meets this character named Will Blank, and after that, he tells Grady about, you know, the werewolf of Fever Swamp and blah blah blah. He says it's the Swamp Hermit, who's a character in the book. The Swamp Hermit is this old man with the long greasy hair, and you know, they basically blame him. They say that he's the Swamp Hermit, but it's revealed like towards the end of the book that Will is actually the werewolf of Fever Swamp. He bites Grady. Something like some words in the book actually stuck in my mind to this day. Like there's this one word in the book that said, "I'm now gazing at the full moon while waiting for my transformation. Will change my life," stuff like that. And then there's this picture where Grady was opening his window and you see his claws or something like that. This was the graphics novels. I don't know if you heard of it, but the graphic novels of Goosebumps books. And I don't know if you heard of it, but it's like an animation of classic Goosebumps books. But yeah, The Werewolf of Fever Swamp is good. I love werewolf stories. It's really good. It's just really good. I like werewolf stories, and this was one of my favorite Goosebumps books, and I really think you should read it. It has a good plot twist. It has a sweet ending, kind of ish. It's like the main character turns into a werewolf. Like, what the heck? Who would want to turn into a werewolf? But yeah, this book was okay, and I really liked it. It was good. Coming in at number 5, we have The Cuckoo Clock of Doom. Now, The Cuckoo Clock of Doom is one of the most popular books in the series. And this book is about Michael Webster, I think that's his name, Michael Webster, who has this bratty little sister whose name I do not know, but I am gonna call her Bratty Girl because, you know, she's just a little brat. So Michael's little sister, Bratty Girl, is so annoying. It makes his life terrible. And then his dad gets this cuckoo clock, you know, this weird cuckoo clock that basically makes the user go back in time, or like making like for example, like you touch the cuckoo clock's head and then you choose which time, and then you go to that time and your body will be that age of that time, and you'll be like, which I think is kind of cool but kind of crazy, because you're like, wait a minute, this already happened. I'm not a kid anymore, I'm a teenager. Or I think he was like Michael was 12 in that book, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, you know, he's going back in time, and then towards the book, he accidentally knocked off the time and year of when his sister was born, and he's thinking, maybe I should go back and get her. Nah, she was annoying anyway, which is actually pretty dark if you think about it, because she wasn't the best character, but she was actually really annoying. But even her, she did not deserve something like erasing a family member out of your life. That's just really messed up. But yeah, this was one of my favorite books, and I really suggest you should read it. Coming in at number 4, we have Say Cheese and Die. Now, Say Cheese and Die is the 4th book in the original Goosebumps series, and we basically know what it's about. It's about Greg, who finds this camera, and basically anytime he takes a picture of a friend or a family member, it'll show the future, and then bad stuff happens. You know, for example, he took a picture of his friend and she didn't show up in that photo, and it turns out that she basically went invisible. And then he took a picture of his parents, and then after that, his parents' car got totaled, like wrecked up his car. And then it actually happened. His car got wrecked up and totaled, and he ended up at the hospital. And then, you know, I don't remember the ending of this book, but I do remember, like, the premise, like, what happened. And this is actually one of my favorite Goosebumps books. This is when my, like, my positive energy starts coming up, because, you know, Say Cheese and Die was one of my favorite books, and actually, the 3rd book I read when I was 7 years old. The title was, like, the title illustrates a skeleton family, which is kind of creepy if you think about it, like a skeleton family enjoying a barbecue, like, bruh. Ugh. And anyway, let's move on. Coming in at number 3 is Let's Get Invisible. Now, to be honest with you, it's not like one of the greatest books in the series. The reason it came in the list, the reason it came in my ranking list for me was its crazy twist ending. But let's start off in the beginning. The book is about Max Thompson, who on his birthday he goes upstairs in the attic and finds this weird mirror, which basically turns him invisible. He shows his friends and his little brother, and eventually they start messing with it. And of course, bad things happen. You know, mirror people want to replace the main characters, but eventually the main characters fight back. You know, not like literally, but you know, they eventually make it. But not all of them make it, because it's revealed towards the end of the book that Max Thompson's little brother, Noah, nicknamed Lefty, because, you know, he throws with his left hand. He throws with his right hand, because, you know, like, when you're in, like, a mirror, like, your hand goes this way, but, like, when you go into a mirror, your hand goes this way. So, like, when Max's dad asked his little brother to throw, you know, something for him because he needed it, he threw with his right hand, because originally he threw with his left hand. And then Max is like, yo, how did you throw with your right hand? And it's basically reveals that his real brother is actually stuck in the mirror, which I think is pretty sad and sucks. And you basically stuck with the fake reflection of your brother. Now, this wasn't like one of the highest Goosebumps books, but it was, I just liked it because, you know, the ending and like how it was, and basically it. Now, coming in at number 2, we have The Haunted Mask. Now, this is actually one of the most popular ones in the series, and I know you're thinking it should have been number 1, or some people have highest or lowest negative energies about it, or good energies, like positive energies, but I think, you know, it's so popular, I had to make a spot on my list. Now, this book is about Carly Beth Candlewell, I believe that's her name, who's tired of being scared by these 2 pranksters. I don't know the second person's name, but I do know one of their names. His name is Steve Boswell, I believe that's his name. Steve Boswell is like one of the pranksters, and Carly Beth is like, I had enough of this stuff. And so she goes to this haunted store, which is basically like, it's like Spirit Halloween, except it's way much lamer than it is. But still, she goes to this bootleg version of Spirit Halloween, and she basically buys this weird mask. You know, she gets this mask, and she steals it instead of buying it. I don't know if she bought it, but she takes it, and then she wears it, and she thinks it's cool. She thinks it'll like frighten people, which it does, but it slowly begins hard to pull off her face, and then eventually it blends in with her skin. Like, this is, pretend I'm putting on the mask, right? And then it blends in all the way, like, it literally like hangs onto your skin, like it's stuck to your face, literally. Now it changes her personality, changes how she feels. She goes crazy, blah 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 blah, you know. But of course she fights back, and like towards like the love, like she fights back with love, and she takes off the mask. And I don't remember the ending again, I'm sorry, but I believe this book is good, and I just had to make a spot on my list, and it was just really good. Now I do believe I should make an honorable mention. My honorable mention is I Live in Your Basement. It's the 50 something book in the series. It's like one of the 55th, I think. I don't know. But I Live in Your Basement is scary. It's not my number one, but I Live in Your Basement is crazy. And you know, I Live in Your Basement is about this dude named Marco who suffers a brain injury, and there's this dude named Keith who's like, I live in your basement. I'm using my scary voice. I live in your basement, something like that. So, I know not that scary, but still. He says, I live in your basement, which totally is creepy. It's like, is he like hallucinating? Or is this real? You know, we try to find out during the book, but then it's revealed during the end of the book is that it's actually Keith's dream, and that it's actually, well, everything that happened to Marco actually happened to Keith. And it turns out that they're actual monsters who actually live in Marco's basement. And towards the end of the book, it's revealed that Marco actually meets Keith. And so, I Live in Your Basement is crazy. It's not like the scariest, but I just knew I had to make a spot on the honorable mentions. Now, here is the favorite number one Goosebumps book of all time. Drumroll please. Camp Jilly Jam. Now I know what you're thinking, this book is not crazy scary, but it actually scared me really much as a kid. Like, it reminded me, like, I never went to camp before, but like in my imagination, I'm just like, what would have happened if me and my sister went to this camp and we had to just scrub this big gigantic jelly thing that eats people? But let's back it up a little bit. Now this book is about Wendy and her younger brother Elliot, who go on a road trip but all of a sudden get separated from their parents, and they eventually go to Camp Jelly Jam, which is the sports camp thing. Now of course they start making friends. They stay there until they contact their parents again. And the counselors, they're really weird, you know, they're really obsessed with you winning and stuff, and it's not, even though it's not a big deal. And it turns out the winners who actually, you know, the actual winners, who, if they actually win, like 5 or I don't know how many tokens you win, but if you win tokens, then you ended up cleaning up the big jelly jam, basically the jelly jam, the huge slug monster who you have to clean before he eats you. Now, unfortunately, I don't remember the ending for this. Again, I'm sorry, but this actually terrified me as a kid. Like, I know it's not like the craziest, scariest of the Goosebumps book, but it actually terrified me. And this was one of the books that actually scared me. I was really scared of sleeping, and also I was afraid to go to camp if I ever did, which I never did. But at that time, like, if I did go to camp, that would have scared me. But overall, the Horror at Camp Jelly Jam is one of my favorite books, and I think you should check it out. And guys, this is pretty much it. This has been my rant on my favorite Goosebumps books, and I believe you should really check some of them out. Like if you want me to make a video about my my least favorite Goosebumps books. And this is Ezekiel Kennedy. I hope you enjoyed, and peace.